audit report. When I started these chapters of audit process, I told you that there are three processes involved in the auditings. First is the planning, another is field work, and the last one is the audit report. We have completed the planning, we have completed the field work. Now, we are at this stage when we will be assembling all our working papers, all our observations, and now we are in the process of formulating our audit opinion or reporting which are required as per these auditing standards. Now, the question arises that how do you report? Is there any guidelines for these audit reports? And as you know that the audit report is a final product in this process, and you should be very much aware about it, conscious about that your final product which is used by the general investors and the user of those financial statements and your audit opinions. So, when you formulate the audit report, the great responsibility is on the auditors that he reports responsibly, because the user will be relying on his statements, on his opinions. So today we will be discussing the audit report portions and what is the reporting requirement under these auditing standards. We will be discussing these auditing standards. One is the SA 600, using the work of another auditors. SA 265, communicating deficiencies in internal control to those with governance and management. SA 260, communication with those charged with the governance. And after that, the audit report, which you will be seeing that, which are published along the financial statements, and that are SA 700, we will have a SA 705, SA 1706, SA 299 and SA 720. So these are the auditing standards which we are going to discuss, and these all auditing standards are part of your reporting. I am not saying that the reporting under SA 600 or SA 265 and 260 are not published in the report, audit reports which go to the external users. There are the external users only the report under SA 700, 705 or 706 which goes to the external users. The other reports are that gives a guidelines to the auditors to formulate the report under SA 700, 705 and 706. But these are considered at the last stage when you are at the reporting stage. We will be taking the first in that process. The last leg of your audit process is using the work of another auditor. Now, it happens sometimes that you are the head office auditors in a company. The company has got 50 branches, and for some of the branches, maybe say that for 5 or 6 branches, the company has appointed as branch auditors, and those branch auditors reports to the statutory auditors, statutory central auditors. So this is the process when there are maybe when the branch auditors report to the statutory auditors, whose reports is read by the user of the financial statements, and finally the report of the central statutory auditors goes to the public or to the users of those financial statements and the user of the audit opinion. The reports of the branch auditors is not used by the stakeholders, but that is used by the statutory central auditors. Take a case in a bank. In the banks there are, maybe take a case of a State Bank of India, which has got a 10,000 branches. Out of that, 6,000 branches are audited by the branch auditors, and the balance branches are audited by the statutory central auditors. When the statutory central auditor formulates his reports, he uses the reports of the 6,000 branch auditors. And how it should use the reports, what it should see in that report, whether he can use it, not use it, and what are the guidelines the statutory central auditors has to follow to use those branch auditors reports. These guidelines are given in SA 600. So what this standard says that sometimes one auditor does not audit the whole of the entity. Just like I have said, if it is the State Bank of India, Bank of India has got one central statutory auditor, suppose. In fact, they have got around 14 central statutory auditors, but they have got around 2,000 branch auditors also, who are auditing the 6,000 branches, which are subject to audit. So sometimes one auditor does not audit the whole of the entity, whole of the State Bank of India. For auditing at different branches, different locations, other auditors are appointed, and one principal auditor is appointed to report the shareholders, owners of the entity. Take an example that you are the auditors of Steel Authority of India Limited. There is one central auditors there, and they have 5 branch auditors for the different locations. So those 5 branch auditors reports to the central auditors. The central auditors, one central auditors uses the reports of those 5 branch auditors and consolidate it, and then give his final opinion under SA 700, 705 and 706. The reports of the branch auditor does not go to the public. The user of these financial statement and auditor's report, they are not using the branch auditor's reports. Who are using the branch auditor's reports? It's the central auditors, principal auditors, who is using the branch auditor's reports while formulating his opinion under SA 700, 705, 706. So this is the situations, and therefore at that time the questions arises, or the principal auditor may be seeking the guidelines from certain auditing standards that how should I use these branch auditors report. Is there any guidelines for it? Yes, there is a guidelines for it, and those guidelines are in SA 600. So this is the auditing standards for that purpose. As I explained to you the purpose of these standards, when an auditor's principal audit reporting on total financial statement of an entity uses the work and report of another auditors, and those another auditors in this case is the branch auditors, who audited the branch division component of the entity, to prescribe the principal auditor's responsibility in relation for use of the work of another auditors. What should be the responsibility of the principal auditors to use the report of those branch auditors? So this is the purpose, and the guidelines are given to the principal auditors here. Dear student, you may have a questions in between. Question may be that here, in addition to the branch division, there is another word used here, what is component of the entity. What does it mean? Component of the entity. The component of entity, just like it may be the branch, it may be division. Sometimes components are, because for the purpose of reporting the financial statements, the principal auditor reports on the financial statement which are consolidated financial statement. Consolidated financial statement means there is a one holding company, and that holding company has got a 3 subsidiaries, and those 3 subsidiaries are audited by another auditors. Holding company is audited by one principal auditors, and that principal auditors are also reporting of the entity which is a holding entity. And the component of that one are the 3 subsidiaries. Suppose they are XYZ. The holding company name is A Limited. So XYZ auditors may be called components auditors. And those components auditors are reporting to the holding company's auditors, A Limited auditors, and entity in this case is the consolidated entity. It's not A Limited, a separate entity, but a consolidated entity. So that may be the component of the entity when the entity has got a different components in the form of a subsidiaries. And this is the SA 600, which also gives the guidelines. The same guidelines applies as you uses the principal auditor uses the audit report of the branch auditors. It may use the audit report of the subsidiaries auditors for the purpose of giving the opinion on consolidated financial statements. Now, what are in every auditing standard, what types of guidelines? The guidelines given under this SA 600 is that how the principal auditor will use the report of the branch auditors or component auditors. What procedure it should follow? And that's the guidelines given in this SA 600. You are the principal auditors, you have got the reports from the branches, and maybe the company which you are auditing has got 5 branches, major branches. They are being audited by another auditors. Those auditors' reports have been given to you as a principal auditors. Now you have to use those branch auditors' report, and after using it, then form your opinion, because you have only audited that portion which is not audited by the branch auditors. So, but you have to give an opinion on the total financial statements. The principal auditors has to give an opinion on the total financial statement, whereas he might have audited only 60% of the financial statement, assets and liabilities and income and expenditures. 40% are audited by the branch auditors. But he has to give his opinion on 100% of the financial statement, assets, liabilities, income and expenditures. So, for that 40% he relies on the work done by the branch auditors. He uses the reports of the branch auditors. Now, the question is that how he uses, what procedure he has to follow, and this procedure has to be documented. How he used the branch auditors reports. Audit procedure for using the other auditor's report is that first is documentation, how he uses it. He must write in his working papers. He uses when he reads the branch auditor's reports from X branch, then he will write who is the auditors. Is there any qualifications in the audit reports? Is there any emphasis of matters there? Is there any disclaimers or like this? Or is there any other matters also there? You will see those reports, note it down in working papers. Why? Why he note down? Whether it affects his overall opinion or not. Then he goes through the financial statements submitted by that branch auditors for that particular branch, and you have to review those financial statements for is there any apparent mistakes on those ones, whether they have been prepared as per the framework, financial framework, reporting framework on which the principal auditor is doing. In fact, At the time of the appointment of the branch auditors, this principal auditor is consulted and principal auditor gives the instruction to the branch auditors that what he expects from him. He gets a acknowledgement from them, from each and every branch auditors, that he will rely on your report, and they must be aware of this fact. And for that purpose, one communication is sent by the principal auditor to the branch auditors, and branch auditors gives their acknowledgement. It should be in their working paper file, and that's the documentations for it. Whether he has a communication with them, whether the branch auditors knows that the principal auditor is going to rely on his report. So that's the documentations part. Responsibility of principal and other auditors. Principal auditors is responsible for his opinion, and opinion is on the total financial statements. Opinion is on his total financial statement, and he is solely responsible for his opinion. The branch auditors audit the branch, and those are responsible for their opinion on the branch financial statements. The principal auditors is responsible solely for his 100% opinion on the financial statements of the companies. And he cannot take an excuse that the branch auditor does not do the good work and they have not done a good audit, and that's why if my opinion is affected by them. He can't say this. If it is so, then he has to rectify it first. So while relying on the work of the branch auditors, word used relying, word is not of faith. The principal auditor will be relying on the work of the branch auditors, and when you say relying means it's not blindly you are relying. You are following a certain due diligence process whether the opinion given by the branch auditors are okay. And what types of procedure? This is the procedure mentioned in SA 600. Reporting the conclusion of using the other auditor's report. Certainly, after applying a certain due diligence process, the principal auditor uses the opinion of the branch auditors. Opinion, some branch auditor has given an unmodified, a clean report. Some has given a qualification, some has got an emphasis of matter, some has got other matters also. He has to consider all these one and then come to the final view on what report he is going to present to the owners of the entity, considering these all opinions of the branch auditors. You see, the other thing, when we are saying that how he said that reporting the conclusion of the using the other reports, other auditors report. He is using the other auditors report. As I told you that he using. When he is using means he is applying his due diligence process to the report submitted by the branch auditors. What due diligence process? Whether the reporting financial statements have been prepared as per the financial statement framework on which the main auditor is reporting. Take for an example, in the banks, the bank principal auditors will be reporting whether the financial statement comply with the banking regulations requirements. Those profit and loss statement, balance sheet has to be prepared as per the Banking Regulations Act. Whether the branch auditors has also reported on the same lining, or whether the branch financial statement has also been prepared as per the Banking Regulations requirements. If they have prepared as per the Companies Act requirement and you are reporting on the Banking Regulations Act requirement, I think that he can't use that report of the branch auditors. So this type of due diligence process he has to apply. So that's the audit procedures which the principal auditor has to follow for using the branch auditor's reports, component auditor's reports. Dear student, overall, you have to remember that the principal auditor is solely responsible for his opinion. He cannot put a blame on the branch auditors that my opinion becomes wrong because the branch auditor has done wrong. If he has done wrong, he has to apply that due diligence process to him. But if there is a certain defects or the branch auditor has not performed his audit as per the auditing standards, to that extent he is responsible. He is responsible because the principal auditor has relied on his opinion, and before relying he has applied a due diligence process as prescribed in SA 600 while using the branch auditor's report. And if there are certain mistakes or the misstatement is found which relates to that particular branch auditor is responsible for it. So that's the auditing standards of SA 600. Now we'll be just discussing one of the case study in this case. The case study is that you are the principal auditor of Product Matters Limited, a listed company which has a subsidiaries in the USA and overseas. It's a case of a subsidiaries because you are the consolidated auditors, many of which are audited by other firms. All subsidiaries are involved in the manufacture of distribution of metal goods and have the same accounting period as Product Metal Limited. Why would you wish to review the work of other auditors of the subsidiary not audited by your firm? Details the work you would carry out in that review. Dear student, as you know that as per the SEBI requirements here in India also, if it is a listed company and it has got a subsidiaries may be in India or outside India, the consolidated financial statement has also to be prepared and audited. Now, under the new Companies Act 2013, it has become mandatory for all companies who have got a subsidiaries, they have to prepare a consolidated financial statement in addition with the separate financial statement, standalone financial statement. Now, these things will happen every time now for each and every company that which has got a subsidiary, they have to prepare. Till today, there is no requirement in the Companies Act 1956 for preparation of the consolidated financial statement. Now, such type of cases will be coming in more in the futures. Now, you are the principal auditors of this Product Metal Limited, and it says that why would you wish to review the work of other auditors? What is the need? There are subsidiaries auditors, they have audited, you have and they've given a reports. Now, why should you wish to review the work of other auditors? Why should you review? You have to review because this is the requirement under SA 600. When you are using the other report that says you have to review them, you have to apply a due diligence process as mentioned in the SA 600. You have to apply that procedures. And without review, because ultimately you will be writing in his report as a other matter paragraph report that for that purpose you have relied on the opinion of the branch auditor or the subsidiaries auditors to that extent. And if you are relying on other auditors, so how do you rely? Certainly you have to review first whether is it reliable, whether you can rely on it or not. If it is a case of overseas and overseas company which is suppose in Europe, maybe one of Portugal, and one of the auditors has given an opinion and submitted to you. And you know that that fellow is not competent because he is not a certified public accountant as per the regulation of that country. Then can you rely upon it if he is not a competent? So this type of review process you have to follow. If you have to rely on that thing, whether he is reliable or not, that for that purpose you have to carry out the review as prescribed under SA 600. That's the reason why the review has to be carried out. Detail the work you would carry out the review. I have already explained it in SA 600 that what are the procedure you have to follow. In the beginning of, before starting the audit, you have to communicate to the auditors, the subsidiary auditor, that I will be relying on your report. What is the financial framework on which you have to give your report, and the financial statement has to be prepared by the management, and on those financial statement you have, as per those financial statement framework, you have to report on the financial statement. You are competent enough to report on that. You know all those principles, auditing standards, accounting principles on which the financial statement are being prepared. This type of communications you make with the subsidiaries auditors. And when he reports, then you have to again apply a due diligence and review process to those reports. You have to document it. Which auditor has reported what, whether there is a qualification in the report, whether there is no qualification in the report, whether the financial statement have been prepared as per the prescribed financial statement framework or not. Financial statement framework, as I told you, it may be a framework like we have a framework for under the Companies Act, you have a framework for the banking companies separately, you have a framework for insurance companies. So whether it is as per the framework, financial statement framework or not. So these are the things which you have to document, and only then you will be able to tell that we have relied on the subsidiaries auditors to that extent. We have another case study. There should be a sufficient liaison between a principal auditor and other auditors. Discuss the above statements. State in this context the reporting consideration when the auditor uses the work performed by other auditors. Dear student, generally such type of questions appears in your exam. And you have to answer them. When you answer them, you may not be remembering the standard and auditing number of 600. But you say that yes, there is a standards on the using the work of another auditors, but you can say as per the standard using the work of another auditors issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants. You may not write what is the SA 600. You may not write if you are not remembering it. But you may say that the standard on or using relating to the using the work of another auditors, this as per this standard, this has to be done. There should be a sufficient liaison between a principal auditor and other auditors. Yes, this statement is correct. In fact, there must be liaisons. What that standard says, SA 600 says that you have to communicate to the branch auditors. You have to keep a liaison with the branch auditors. You have to communicate with him that we will be relying on your report. The financial statement will be prepared under that framework, and we expect that you are competent enough and you are well in knowledge of those accounting principles under which the financial statements are being prepared. In between also in the audit process, you may give them a certain instructions. What are the items which you feel that you should go in for the substantive testing. These are the risk prone area where more substantive testing is required. And this type of communications, and if suppose in between the branch auditors feels any problem and he discusses with the principal auditors, he has to discuss and he has to give a guidance to him also that how to deal with that situations. So this statement is true as per S600 that there should be sufficient liaison between the principal auditors and branch auditors. So that is the SA600. I hope you have a fair idea about why this standard is there and what is the requirements of it.